financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, and how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, your financial problems will be solved at Parrot TV with Financial Focus. America Open Market, AO Market. The best digital market for humanity is a free, multilingual, borderless market open to international sellers with various languages included. With America Open Market, you may start selling in minutes after filling out the form. Comprehensive dashboard where you understand your sales, orders, and customers is available. You get paid directly, securely, and instantly on the America Open Market. You can sell your house, car, electronic laptop, CD player, boombox, phone, headphones, furniture, and clothing, and anything on AmericaOpenMarket.com where all your sales and customer needs are met. Register as a merchant today. You will not regret becoming a vendor at America Open Market. For further inquiries, contact us at aomarket@gmail.com. AO Market, best digital marketplace for humanity.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Financial Focus University. My name is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO, and I want to welcome you to our show. We have a financial news and market information show sprinkled with personal finance, and we hope you learned something from our show today. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have three important things to talk about. Of course, in our first subject, we're going to talk about Bidenomics. And when we talk about Bidenomics this week, we're going to pretty much talk about which really took place this week in the financial market. Was it the economics or was it politics? You'll see coming up. Our second segment is our continuing and final part 4 segment of our How to Properly Budget segment. We'll go over our first 3 segments, and then our fourth and final segment is to create a budget to save for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, our final segment is our new segment. It's called the Professor's Opinion segment, my opinion. And I'm going to briefly talk about the economic events for the week and basically who's in charge of making sure that our economy is humming. Do we really know who's in charge? We're going to talk about that in a few moments too. So, ladies and gentlemen, once again, my name is Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO. I am the founder of the Financial Advisors Group, a 25-year money management firm, and I'm currently the owner of RIVIECCIO Financial Advisors, a virtual financial advisory firm. And if you live in New York, you might have seen me at Herbert H. Lehman College or at Monroe College teaching students now for several years about the basics of personal finance. So, after now going through all my gray hair, let's talk about Bidenomics. So, we're going to go right to our first segment and talk about Bidenomics. Ladies and gentlemen, we had a wonderful, crazy week, as I'm sure people that watch the market understand. But let's talk about the events of the week first, right? Just as a short reminder. So, when we go to the next slide, you'll see when we talk about the events for the week, right? Many things took place. One of the biggest things that took place was that our president, Joe Biden, talked about a gas tax holiday, right? He wanted to reduce the 18 to 20 cents per gallon to zero for a couple of months. But of course, he needed congressional approval. And as you can see, I have pending there because, of course, Congress has to approve it. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's fair to say that even though it might have been a good proposal for the week, I think we can tell in weeks ahead, now that his own Democrats are pretty much telling him, nah, I don't think that's a good idea, that that proposal later on down the road is going to be shot down. But it was a wonderful proposal for the week. We also had our Federal Reserve Chairman, Mr. Powell, give congressional testimony for 2 days during the course of the week. And we'll talk about his testimony a little bit more in detail later. But he pretty much said when it came to interest rates, they're going up. They're going up. They went up 75 basis points. You can expect that again. You can expect that again. You can expect that again. He kept saying it every 5 minutes. What's going to be the effect on that on our economy? Well, that's a longer term conversation. We'll talk about the short term effects of it in a moment. Jobless claims came out this week, ladies and gentlemen, and they were pretty much flat. But then we had out of nowhere in the last 2 days, U.S. Supreme Court decision. We had a decision where now there's a possibility we might have more guns in our country. There's also a possibility we might have less abortions in our country. So as you can see, later on when the week came by, we had a lot of political news that got interjected into our economic news, right? So how did all of that mixture when we took it out of the bowl? Well, let's go to our next slide to see how our cake came out. So when you look at the markets for the week, remember the market was closed on Monday, right? So you can say we actually started off politically, we were closed, right? But for the rest of the week, Tuesday it went up 2.2%. Wednesday it also went up. It went up very small, 0.1%. On Thursday, it went up again, 1.1%. And on Friday, today, when the market closed, it went up 2.9%. Ladies and gentlemen, did you notice I didn't say anything about it going down? Right? It all just kept going up. So let's add all that up, take it out of the oven. Let's see what it looks like. Let's go to the next slide. Ladies and gentlemen, the market for the week, let me repeat that, ladies and gentlemen. The market for the week went up. It went up 6.3%. Don't jump out the window out for joy. Stay with me. It went up 6.3%. How did the bond market do for the week? Normally when one of the markets do well, the other market doesn't do well. So let's look at bonds. Well, how did bonds go? Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Last week, the 2-year bond was at 3.17%. As you can see now, it actually went down. It went down to 3.04%, or a decline in value of 4%. Our 10-year bond, which was goes out a little bit longer, of course, well, that rate last week was at 3.23%. And as you can see now, it went down to 3.14%. So it went down in value 3%. Ladies and gentlemen, some would say this week, and I'm one of them, that politics took over these numbers, but a little inside tip, when the bond market goes down as you see it, that's an indicator that there still could be some strength in the economy. So I actually think it was a combination of both politics and good lower interest rate numbers, right? Jerome Powell says they're going up. The market says, no, they're not. They're going down. So how are we doing, right? How are we doing from January 1? Well, as we look at the chart from January 1 to today, or 25 weeks, right? One more week makes half a year, and then you get your 401k statement. Yes, I'll give you my number in a few minutes. Well, right now, you're still down. You're down 15.6%. Yes, you can get ready to open the window, but still stay with me. You're down 15.6%. But ladies and gentlemen, just like everybody had a good week, so did our friend Mr. Robert Press. Now, our friend Mr. Robert Press also had a good week, and his negativity, as you can see, actually went up, and now he's with us at a negative 8.9%. Take the name out of it, and you can see the 25-week indicator with the 16-week indicator, and of course, the early part of the year, the first couple of weeks of the year, I'm sure you remember, our market started to go down from there. But even though it got better a little down the road, two things are going on. Number one, we're still in the negative. Number two, in my opinion, we really need to keep a track of short-term rates. because I believe short-term rates are going to be the area that's going to make the market move during the struggling economy. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back in a moment.
Do you know that there is a publishing company that wants to make life easier for you as a writer? This publishing company is called World Inkers Printing and Publishing. We publish in all different languages, and we're looking for writers of all genres, all formats. We're looking for scholars, ghostwriters, playwrights, poets, short fiction, novelists, you name it. We're looking for anybody who is interested in writing and the craft of writing to be in touch with us. You can reach us at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. With World Inkers Printing and Publishing, you do not require a lot of money to publish with us. Contact us today at info.worldinkers@gmail.com. Become a winner with other authors at World Inkers Printing and Publishing. Give us a shot. We will surely finish you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Now, as we talk about our second segment, our personal finance segment, we're going to talk about budgeting again, and it will be our final segment in regards to how to budget properly, or as I call it, how to budget properly, part 4. I cannot emphasize the importance of budgeting. I have people talk to me every day about their short-term goals, their long-term wants, and it starts with budgeting. That's what people have to remember. So let's talk about putting together our final good budget. So how to properly put together a budget, part 4. Ladies and gentlemen, let's first remember about part 1. Part 1, we were clarifying misconceptions. We said that putting together a budget was not planning for the present, right? Remember, I kept saying that. That's not what budgeting is about. Budgeting is planning for the future, whether that future is short-term or long-term. So I like to look at budgeting as putting together a financial plan. It's the beginning of putting together a financial plan to get you to your short-term and or long-term future. How does it all get started? It gets started by tracking 2 things in your life: your sources of income and your sources of expenses. So when we go to the next slide and talk about part 2 and 3, I put them together. We were now talking about defining those ingredients, right? What does income mean? Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said in our prior segments, right? When I talk about income, I don't mean your gross income. What you make as gross means nothing, because what comes out of your pocket means everything. So when we talk about income and budgeting, we're not talking gross income, we're talking net income, right? So we start off the budget by putting down our net income, not our gross income, right? So that's the first thing we have to remember. The second thing we have to remember is we have to track our sources of expenses. And when I talked about expenses, in short, you want to track everything. You want to track your highest expense to your lowest expense and everything in between. I'm sure your highest expense is probably either your rent or your mortgage payment, and your lowest expense is probably the roll of toilet paper that you went and got. You should have on your monthly budget the top, the bottom, and everything in between. That was the areas that we covered in that section. We also covered in that section, the third item, right? Define those expenses, right? Define them in 2 different ways: wants and needs, right? So when we talk about the rent is a need. When we talk about food is a need. When we talk about going out to dinner and taking out some friends at a fancy restaurant, well, that's not a need anymore. Now that's a want. That's fine. I didn't say there was anything bad with that, but let's define it as to what it is. So in defining the ingredients, again, we want to define not just our sources of after-tax income, but more importantly, all of our expenses and we want to define whether there are needs or wants. So, ladies and gentlemen, those were parts 1, 2, and 3. So now let's go to the next slide and get right into part 4. So what? That's part 4. Okay, I don't think so. Okay. Is there a slide prior to that? There you go. There you go. So what is the right budget for you? Right? What is the right budgeting method? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'll sit down because here comes the truth. There is none. If you've been watching the first couple of parts of this show, you saw me go over several different types of budgets, and those budgets cover several different types of things that one may or may not want to do, right? But let me get right to the point in this part 4. You either want a budget for savings or you don't. And if you don't want a budget for savings, then ladies and gentlemen, you can now click off the show and get off the show, because we're talking about saving money, right? That's, in my opinion, what part of budgeting is all about. But don't leave us, because let me give you some short-term ideas before we talk about a long-term budget. So as you can see under short-term solutions, right, there's a couple of short-term ideas if you don't want to do any budgeting, right? Number 1, you want to prioritize, again, your needs versus wants, right? You really need to get a grip on the things that we're using our money for. Again, I'm not defining them as good or bad. You should define them as needs versus wants. And then again, the second thing, you want to look at all of your need expenses, right? So after you track them all up, right, forget the wants for a moment. Right? We know we got to cover the needs, right? That's got to be covered, right? So guess what? Look at that first, right? So that's the second idea. And then, of course, the third idea, it might change your point of view, is to pre-plan, right? Instead of getting frustrated, just pre-plan. So anybody that doesn't want to do any budgeting, or maybe wants to do just a little bit, do those things. Don't do any budgeting. The people that do want to budget, you want to save money, right? So, you know what? We have a wonderful congressperson. Her name was Elizabeth Warren. You might have heard of her. She created a budget called the 50-30-20 budget, which is our next slide. On our next slide, Elizabeth Warren created a framework that pretty much said, okay, 50-30-20. This means you want to save 20% of your after-tax income for short-term and long-term goals. The 80% is chopped down in 2 different ways. The 50% is for your needs. The 30% is for your wants, right? So again, with the 50%, you want to see if you can pay your needs like rent, food, utilities, right? With the wants, again, like you heard me mention dining out, right? Again, maybe some luxury items, right? Maybe you want to get a new ring, right? And then you want to try, if you can, to take that 20% that hopefully you'll have left and use it for short-term or long-term goals. So when we go to the next slide, and ladies and gentlemen, anybody that wants a copy of these slides, please feel free to email me. You'll get my email at the end of this presentation. And I want to thank the people that have already reached out that already has a copy of these slides. So to get back to where we were. So as you heard me mention a moment ago, and this slide breaks it down even more, right? The 50-30-20 rule, as we call it, right? With your needs, which is the 50%, you want to make sure you can cover areas such as rent or mortgage or food or utilities or health insurance or things that you need. And then again with the 30%, right? You want to, if you want to, this has to do with what we call non-essentials, right? They're non-needs. So they're your wants, right? You want to go out and have dinner. Anybody want my number for dinner? Please let me know, right? Maybe you want to do some extra social traveling. Maybe you want to buy some subscriptions, right? Hello Netflix, right? Hello Hulu, right? Maybe you just went to that. I'm trying to think of that. Forgive me. What's the name of that gym? They're all over the place now, right? I can't remember the name of them, right? Maybe a gym membership. Things you don't need, right? Let's be frank. Things we don't need. When I show you my budget, I'm going to show you some things I don't need, right? And then again, the 50-30-20 rule. If you have 20% left, if you have anything left, of course, you want to congratulate yourself, but then you want to put it away for those short-term and long-term goals. So when we go to the next slide, you're probably saying at this point, what the hell is Anthony talking about? Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember, that's my budget, right? And I took all the numbers out of it for a moment because this is what everybody should do. You should grab a piece of paper and put 50-30-20 on top of it. 50% needs, 30% wants, 20% savings. Notice now there's no money on here, right? So I know what my after-tax income is, right? So I make sure I put the income down, right? Now when it comes to what it is that I spend, right, I'm going to break that down first. And as you can see on the left-hand side, I broke them down. And then after that, I put on the right-hand side what was a need versus a want, right? So with my rent, I put a need. With my food, if you notice, I put an N and a W. If you remember from our prior show, this is where sometimes, we do a little spending. I like to call it like a little type of greedy spending, instead of getting the regular, say, $5 meat, which is now $8, right? You might get the $8 meat, which is now $10, right? So you're being a little special with yourself. Once a month, I like to eat good. I like to cook. So, I get a little extra than I probably should, right? So my food is a combination of need, but also want, right? Same thing with clothing, needs and wants, right? At least for me. Now, cleaning. Cleaning for me is a need. I need cleaning utensils, right? Same thing with the bathroom. Anything happening with the bathroom, right? That's a need, right? Now, gas and electric. That for me is also a need. Cleaning lady. And notice I have it in red. We'll talk about that in a moment. Do I need a cleaning lady? No. I got 10 fingers. They work. I got 2 legs. They work. I even got gray hair and that works. But ladies and gentlemen, I'll buy the stuff for the cleaning lady to clean, but I just don't have any time to clean. So yes, I pay a cleaning lady. Do I really need that? No, I want that, so I put it down because that's what I have. Internet. Internet for me is a need. Between my teaching, my business, talking to you, I need it, right? Okay. And then you'll see I have, and I'm trying to look at my own notes here, what I call a payment, right? That payment is a need to me because if you remember from our other shows, I said that was tied into a business debt that is going on. So even though it's a payment, like a credit card payment, to me, and again, right, it's all about you, it's a need, right? So those are the things I need. Those are the things I want. Those are the things, the needs and wants that I put together. And this is just to track, ladies and gentlemen. You don't put any numbers down. I want you to take a good look at it, right? Because once you get your money, see if your money fits into this scenario, right? See if with your after-tax money, you could take 50% of it and take care of your needs. Ladies and gentlemen, let me be very honest with you. I couldn't do it. If you remember from the other shows, my needs were 70-something%, right? So if I follow this model, well, it's going to be a little tight, right? But that's a good thing. I need to feel that. I need to know, some things are not happening correctly, right? But if I have 75%, if you also remember with my wants, right? My wants were 21%. Well, that's lower than the 30, right? So I got it working somewhat haywire, right? So my savings, right, was only 4%. Well, that's not too good, but it's better than most, right? I'm still showing a positive. So of course, that's part of the good thing. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? Let's talk about reality. Elizabeth Warren created a 50-30-20 budget so people will start thinking about saving. The problem, though, with this budget is, of course, it doesn't take into parts of reality, right? What do I mean by parts of reality? Well, things that are going on right now. So you know what? Sometimes 50-30-20 doesn't work, right? So I tell clients, you know what? Think of 60-30-10, right? Put in 60 in the needs, keep the 30 as the wants, but then you know you're going to have 10% left for savings, right? That might make it work a little bit better. Or as another strategy, maybe you might say, you know what? Anthony's crazy. I'm going to put all the needs and wants together. That's fine. If you can take 80% of, as you can see with the chart, right? That still means you have 20% for savings, right? You're going to need that 20% if you have short-term goals, whether it's vacation. Remember I said I wanted to buy a car. I know people that save up this money during the year for long-term goals like retirement, okay? And even after retirement. So it could be short-term goals, long-term needs. What's important is that it all starts with budgeting. Elizabeth Warren had a great idea with 50-30-20, but the more reality is try 60-30-10, right? Or you can just take the 50 and 30 together, make it 80-20, and that works too. What can't work is that savings is a negative. That can't work. That has to be cleaned up before any of us can get to our short-term and long-term futures, whatever they financially are. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope this helped. My phone number is 347-575-5045. Please, let's go to the next slide. Feel free to email me if you like a copy of these slides. And ladies and gentlemen, let me just say for our July how-to segment, we're going to cover areas in 401k planning as well as income tax planning. So, of course, we hope you join us for the month of July. Don't forget to press the subscribe button. We hope we financially educate you. We'll be back in a moment.
America Open Market, AO Market. The best digital market for humanity is a free multilingual borderless market open to international sellers with various languages included. With America Open Market, you may start selling in minutes after filling out the form. Comprehensive dashboard where you understand your sales, orders, and customers is available. You get paid directly, securely, and instantly on the America Open Market. You can sell your house, car, electronic laptop, CD player, boombox, phone, headphones, furniture, and clothing, and anything on AmericaOpenMarket.com where all your sales and customer needs are met. Register as a merchant today. You will not regret becoming a vendor at America Open Market. For further inquiries, contact us at aomarket@gmail.com. AO Market, best digital marketplace for humanity.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And I want to just take a moment to thank our sponsors. And if you'd like to be a sponsor, please feel free to give me or the station a call as well. Our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, has to do with a brand new segment. We call it the Professor's Opinion. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk this week for a moment or two about the Federal Reserve Board. Jerome Powell, as you may or may not know, testified to both the House and the Senate when it came to the actions of the Federal Reserve Board this week. And if you remember, the president a couple of weeks ago, when inflation started to really become the #1 topic, our president said, you know what? It's the Federal Reserve Board's job. So Jerome Powell said, okay, I'm going to go there and I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm going to do. And he said a couple of things, ladies and gentlemen, that I thought were a little bit scary. He said, number one, interest rates are going to go up because in the Federal Reserve Board's position, these are the only tools we have to stop inflation. It's to make interest rates continuously go up. But then he also said in the same comments that, yes, if I continue to have interest rates to go up, there's a very big anticipation that the economy will go into a recession. And then, of course, he was asked, well, what can the Federal Reserve Board do about that? And he said, speak to your elected representatives. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? I'm not going to get into the political question as to whether I think he's right or wrong, but let me give you what I believe is the economic answer. Okay? He's right. Because when we talk about taxes and spending, these are the fiscal areas that either make our economy go up or down. And one of the ways to have a stable economy, knowing that we have a Congress and president that control one side of it and the Federal Reserve Board controlling another side of it, well, of course, common sense says, well, if we already know what one side is going to do, which was, I believe, your motive going to Congress this week, well, then, of course, we have to understand what the other side should do. And if Jerome Powell believes we are going towards a recession because he's going to keep making interest rates go up, then there's only two things that the president and our Congress can do to make the economy move. And that is to lower taxes or increase spending. I've been an economist for 31 years, and I don't think I know of any other way. Now, the Build Back Better program, which is what he's now trying to get through Congress via piecemeal, is a spending-based program. So again, a portion of government spending will, of course, help the economy to grow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what I believe we all should do and be very concerned about is maybe keep in mind, we, especially here in the state of New York, we are in the middle of election season. So I think it's very important that we ask not just our federal officials, but our city and state officials as well. Well, if we know that we're going into a national recession, then we also need national, state, and local relief. And there's only two types of relief that you can have. One is, again, to lower your taxes, or two, to increase your assistance with the government. These are the things, ladies and gentlemen, you should talk to your candidates as well as elected officials so you can make an informed decision on election day. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us this week. We'd love to have you every week. Just press that subscribe button, and we'll see you next Friday. Be financially focused. Have a great weekend.
Are you curious about financial literacy? Then take a look at Professor Anthony RIVIECCIO's new program on Parrot TV. It's called Financial Focus University. This is an excellent program to learn about questions related to your own finances post-COVID, and how you can manage your money, how you can work with your tax situation. And this is an excellent and informative discussion of financial literacy. With Professor